Hi, everybody. You call me Anastasia. This is Rose. This is our first sort of meeting of the library, I guess you can call it. Um, so we're just sitting here with this whole coronavirus thing going on, and we just wanted to touch bases and talk to people and, kind of talk to you about different things, about the true thing about social distancing, how to improve your relationships, different things like that. So once again, I'm Anastasia. I'm also known often as a librarian, and this is Rose. You want to introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, this is Black Rose. Not much I really can say about myself.
Well, you do have that gaming channel, don't you?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to
I don't really care.
tagline that. All right.
So he does have a gaming channel if y'all are big on video games and things like that. Him and his friend actually have one going on. I might end up starting one for my son because he's been asking for it, but we'll figure that out later. So let's start off talking about this coronavirus and social distancing. Everybody's upset because of the fact that they have to keep their distance and they can't socialize. But the reality is that's not true. You can ask Rose. I'm always telling them how, you don't have to be like close to somebody or in a relationship with somebody to socialize. There's so many other ways to do that. For one thing, his video game thing. Whenever you're playing video games, you have all of these ways to communicate. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, one game me and few friends have been playing a while to just socialize, chat, chill out with each other is Grand Theft Auto online. Always a good time. There's plenty of games where it's multiplayer. You can chat with people. Get good communication going with everybody.
Exactly. Even like these meetings, these Zoom meetings, Facebook Live, all those different types of things are ways that we can actually socialize with people without actually being necessarily in the same room. In fact, I find usually when you have to socialize this way, you tend to socialize more than when you actually do in your same room. How many of y'all have noticed whenever you're in the same room, most everybody's looking at their phone, playing a game, checking their email, checking their Facebook, but not actually talking to any other people? Have you noticed that, Rose?
I mean, I'm guilty of that my damn self, to be honest.
See? So this may not be a bad thing. This can actually help us improve our communication skills because the thing is that's where a lot of things are actually falling apart now is the fact that we do not communicate very well. Um, so um, my mind just went blank, but so one way we could communicate with each other is try to understand the situation a little bit better because understanding is actually very much so key to any relationship or getting anything better. So many people are often here talking about things like how okay talking about things but they're only wanting to hear their perspective of it and then they complain because nobody listens to them or nobody understands them. Well, that could be actually part of the problem when you're talking from the perspective of simple black and white. You're not looking to understand anything and therefore you can't reach anybody because a lot of people with a black and white mindset are only thinking about what's right and wrong, but not why somebody thinks the way they do, so they don't get to the roots of the issues. I don't know if I've ever discussed that with you before. Roots of issues. Have I ever mentioned that to you before?
Not that I can think of.
No,
I
I
can't
didn't think
recall that.
I didn't think so because that's more technical, and we've been hanging out for a while as friends, so I don't really think I've ever gotten technical with you. But what roots of the issues are is why somebody thinks the way they do, why they act the way they do, why they respond the way they respond. And a lot of times, if you're not dealing with that root, all you're going to be getting is basically a giant tree trunk that you're constantly hitting on that's not going to get any type of damage. Whereas if you go to the roots and nurture the roots in a different way, then maybe you could get them to see things in a different way and understand things more, which is why approaching situation from an understanding mindset is much more important than a black or white mindset. In fact, I know of a very serious situation where this is a very important thing. People who are in abusive situations or even who are drug addicts, if you're not dealing with the roots of the issues, you're just hitting the tree trunk and nothing's going to change. And when I say an understanding point of view versus a black and white point of view, a lot of people with that black and white point of view will tell you you're in a bad situation, Well, reality is chances are they know they're in a bad situation, and that's not where the problem is. The problem is there's some underlying cause or something that's keeping them there. And if you don't try to figure out what that is, all you're doing is hitting the tree trunk. Does that make sense? Because I know sometimes I get rambly and I don't always make sense.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're good.
Do you have anything you want to say or add?
Uh, no, I feel like you covered that pretty well.
Awesome. So another thing we need to really think about when it comes to relationships and communication and all that type of stuff, relationships are never about one person. It's never one person's fault for anything. It's always involves more than one person. Um, in fact, I have a video here talking about something about that that's actually quite important. Let's see if I could find it. Let's see, just be a few moments. Let me see if I could pull it up real quick. But basically, it's talking about how so many people. Yeah, I think this one's it. Okay, cool. So basically, what this is going to talk to you about how relationships are involving more than one person, and how if you do not take into consider uh, and how if you don't take into consideration about the other person, things can actually go bad, even if we're used to trying to take on things on our own. This connect and respect each other, that goes back to the mind frame of understanding. If we're just trying to hit at them, get them to see our point of view, but not understanding them and respecting them, you're not going to get anywheres. All right, guys. So I did want to go all the way through because I wanted to allow y'all to get her website if you are interested in what she has to say and things like that. I want you to be able to find those resources yourself because I'm a strong believer in not so much telling somebody what to do or teaching somebody information, but teaching them how to find the information. But this is something that's very, very important because she was talking about teamwork. Teamwork is a relationship, and they have different types of teamwork for different reasons. There's the parent child, the partners, the friends, the co-workers, all over. Um, even reality, there's even enemy teamwork if you really think about it, because that's what relationships ultimately are. Do you have anything to say, Rose?
I want to add to there's also roommates as well.
Roommates? So, I mean, it's all about everything's about teamwork in some way. That's what a relationship ultimately is. It's two people working together to reach some sort of type of goal, whether it's understanding each other, taking care of each other, loving each other, teaching each other lessons, whatever the case may be. And that's once again why the concept of understanding is so important. Because if we're not understanding what the team is supposed to be doing or the relationship is supposed to be doing for us, we could be trying to guide it in a way it's not supposed to go. And that could cause a lot of problems. It could cause a friendship to fall apart. It could cause tension in between a situation where you really don't need extra tension. There's a lot of things that could go wrong with that. Um, I'm trying to think. Do you have anything to add, Rose?
Uh, Not really. I mean, there's also relationship. Did you mention coworkers? I forgot
Mm-hmm.
if you mentioned coworkers. Yeah, it's also if you happen to have a pet, there's a relationship dynamic between your pet.
That's true. I mean, it is a little bit hard to communicate, but it is a team. It is also a team. Because you're taking care of them, they're providing you with comfort. They're providing you with a friend, somebody to spend time with, or whatever the case. So definitely, teamwork can be even with your pets if you know that's how if you really think about that.
I mean, between me and my cat, I feel like I can get a good understanding of what he's trying to tell me at this point. And I think he can get a good understanding of what I try to tell him. So I feel like if you know your pet long enough, you guys can get actual good communication skills building together.
You do. You tend to learn their tendencies and things like that. It's more like a not saying with verbal communication and things like that, but it's still about paying attention, listening, and understanding. As you're dealing with your pet, you start learning, they start doing certain things. When they get hungry, they might go to their bowl and just stare at their bowl. So you know that they need food as you get to learn your pet. So that's really important. This is really important in communication too. You tend to learn things about people. For instance, if somebody had a bad day at work and they come home and soak and just kind of pull away from yourself, well, you start learning that they had a bad day at work. So you might want to start off the conversation, well, how was your day at work? Um, what's what happened today? Something along those lines. Um, because it kind of gives you an idea of what's going on with them by learning and understanding the way they are. This is why I'm really pushing this idea of instead of approaching things from a black and white perspective, from an understanding perspective, it's very, very important to understand the way people are. Because if they had a bad day at work and they're coming in and soaking and you're pushing about the dishes, that's probably not a good idea right now because something happened earlier and they're showing signs of that. Do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, yeah, you can definitely tell there's certain times where you do bring topics up, and then other times you don't, based on things you can tell usually. Sometimes it's not so obvious, it might be more so little cues, but you gotta pay attention to what other people are giving off sometimes.
Yep, and like I said, those little, like I was talking about, even those little cues, they kind of give you an understanding of things. And it's the same thing whenever we're talking to people. So back to the whole abusive situation. You're in a bad situation, and they're saying, no, it's not that bad. This person doesn't do this, that bad. It's not as bad as what you think it is, blah, 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 blah. But they may not, that might be their words, but that may not be what they're actually saying. if they've been told 20 times that the person is bad for them and they're still with them, it may have come from a point of they're bad and trying to get you to realizing people are trying to get them to realize it's bad, to feeling like people are saying they're stupid or they should know better or that the blame's on them for the situation, which causes a defensive move versus an understanding move. So that's another reason why understanding is so important. Understanding the way people are, understanding what they could be thinking, because that is one of the biggest issues. Um, what about you, Rose? You could think of anything that could have a you could be saying one thing but somebody taking it a different way.
I mean, yeah, just recently someone I knew got out of a really abusive relationship of many, many years. And everyone's been telling them, like, hey, this guy is obviously being a complete asshole to you. You need out of this. And he's even hit her a few times. But anytime that would be brought up, she'd be like, oh no, there's always these good times when you guys just aren't looking. It's like, well, I don't care about when I'm not looking. We can see that he's being terrible to you in public. I can only imagine it's worse when no one's seeing it. And just where it wasn't getting through. And at some point, it did eventually just get through.
Right. And like I said, that could be because of the way she was taking it. Because I've actually talked to somebody who was in an abusive relationship, and her it started when she was a kid because her mother was abusive to her. So then she ended up in a relationship with somebody who was abusive to her and abusive to her kids. And every time somebody would tell her, hey, this is not right, this is not right, she wouldn't take it as them trying to tell her, hey, you need to look at this and really try to figure out how to get out. She was taking it as somebody saying, hey, you're stupid for being in this relationship. It's not right. You need to get out. But the thing is like she said, in her perspective, it wasn't them saying the relationship is bad. It was her saying that. They're saying she's stupid for being in the relationship. Therefore, instead of trying to get her to open her eyes, it was causing her to shut down because she was feeling attacked. And this is all why the concept of approaching things from an understanding perspective and finding the roots of the situation and why they're responding the way they are, it can be so important. Because instead of somebody approaching it such as hey, this isn't good for you, this isn't good for you, they may have approached it from a perspective of what's your vision of what's going on. And then when she would explain, well, I know that this isn't right, but this is what I'm used to, blah, 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 blah. Then you could help you understand, okay, well, I understand this is what you're used to. However, the unknown might be unscary, but it also could be very beautiful if you're willing to take that chance and that step. We're here to help you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And that's why I always bring up the concept of that's why I'm always bringing up that concept of understanding point of view versus black and white. The black and white is very simple. The situation's bad. Um, but when you approach from understanding and knowing the roots and why they're doing certain things, it kind of does help a lot more. um, so do you have anything you want to add to the conversation?
One thing I do want to add when it comes to abusive relationships, look out for gaslighting. Anytime someone uses the words like, oh, that's not how I remember it, oh, that's, you shouldn't be thinking that way, just anytime someone's trying to change your viewpoint of how they did something to you, that's gaslighting. Be careful of that because that's probably a sign of an abusive relationship.
Yes, and also there is the issue with that about gaslighting that could also be part of the reason why things that we would think is so important um when things are so important that when we think things are so important but we don't understand why they're acting the same way, it could be that for years and years and years they have been told something else. And because they were told something else in their mind, it is something else. I do want to say we're almost out of time today. I'm not sure exactly how much more time we do have, but we are almost out of time. Um, I just received a notification that we're almost out of time for this. So another thing is about relationship building and understanding. A good way to gain it is to ask the right questions. So, for instance, did you have a bad day at work today? That's a yes or no question. It doesn't really open people up and get them to reveal things to you. It's a better way of saying it. Now, if you change the wording to how was your day at work today? They'll might tell you, oh, well, it was okay, but then so and so spilled coffee, which then led to the computer, da 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 da, whatever. And it will help you kind of understand more about what's going on. And it'll also get them to the point of wanting to talk to you more because they're used to you asking these type of questions. It makes them feel like you want to understand, you want to know. Um, a really good exercise that I feel for this is take questions that you want a simple answer for, yes or no answer for, and see how you can actually change it to a open-ended question, because that's what's called the open-ended question is when you ask something that gives them more where they're forced to give you more information. So, for example, Rose, did you go to the store today?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Now, that's a simple yes or no closed-ended question. However, if I want to make him more communicative about it, instead of asking, did you go to the store today? You might ask him, where did you go today?
Well, I came home from work early in the morning. Nice long walk.
See? So now, not only did he tell me where he went today, he went from work to home, he also added that he had a long walk. So that kind of opens up the idea of them being able to open up more to you and even give you more clues about things to ask. And from there, I might ask, oh, well, what happened along your walk? Or what did you see along the walk? Or whatever the case. So when you're trying to build understanding and while you're trying to build relationships, remember, try to use those questions that get them talking to you and not simple yes or no or whatever the case. Like I said, we need to cut this off soon because I received a notice not that long ago. Yeah, we got probably about 4 or 5 minutes left. All right, Rose, do you have anything else you want to say?
No, not really much more I can add to conversation at the moment.
Okay. So definitely subscribe. We do have this. I'm gonna try to get this up on a podcast and on YouTube. Um, we're still playing with everything, trying to figure everything out, but we're hoping to be able to do this at least once a week. Um, so tell us what type of things you think we need to discuss or you think would be important to discuss at the moment. Remember, use this time to call your grandparents or Zoom your friend or even get your writing skills out. Write emails, write letters, all those different types of things. Just because we can't be in the same room doesn't mean we have to be socially distant. We can actually still communicate with each other and become more sociable. And hopefully at the end of this, people will become more sociable and do better at, picking up the phones when they're with people. All right. Well, bye. It's me,
Have
Anastasia,
a good day,
signing
guys.
off.